another Thursday morning. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I am your host up until just short of 8 o'clock. But we're on the Dawn Patrol for the first hour. We're on for City Life for the second hour. My co-host, Sam Chase, Bob Hoey. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
John McDonough is behind the camera, sometimes on the camera. You may hear his voice in the background. We are expecting Glenn at 7 o'clock, and we'll see his take on the State of the Union address and a few of the other things, Zelensky and all the other stuff that is happening. A few things happening in Chelmsford. He has a little bit of information about something happening in Lowell. So we'll see how much he has to say about that. Excuse me.
Can I leave at 7?
That's at your discretion.
All right.
If you get really tired and you don't want to engage Glenn, that's
Well,
up to you.
if Glenn is here, you don't need me, so.
That's not true. He likes to have conversation with you. You should know that by now. And, I mean, lots of stuff. It was raining a little bit on the way in. We had quite a bit of rain last night and through the morning hours. A lot of wind. And when I get a short...
And we all survived.
Yeah, we're fine.
Amazing.
But there was a tree branch down on Hunt
It was
Road.
hide
so
under
I've got
the
a
bed
call.
wind, hide under the bed rain.
Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff happening on a national level. There's a few things happening on local levels, the state level. So I'll throw out topics. You guys can figure out what you'd like to start out with. You had those mayors that went down of sanctuary cities that went down to Washington, D.C. Supposedly the Boston mayor used $650,000 to get ready for that, which I found rather interesting.
They hired a law firm to prep her.
Which is kind of ridiculous, but taxpayer money in Boston. Would like to, if anybody happens to be listening, knows people in Boston, do you really like it? Let us know. Now, this is an unscripted, unedited, live show. We're not, it's our opinions. It could be somebody else's opinions, but we, if anybody, wants to know anything about things, you have a telephone number at the bottom of your screen that you can text John McDonough. We're also on Facebook. So there's Messenger on Facebook or comments that can be made during the program. We also have YouTube. So we're using quite a bit of social media in order to be able to communicate and have an open discussion about a variety of topics, which we have here. So it's definitely different in temperature this morning, if you want to talk about the weather again.
It's lovely.
It was 3 below zero at the lake on Sunday morning.
Really?
Yes, on my...
That's not wind chill, that's
Would you
actual
tell the audience where
temperature.
the lake is?
It's in Middleton, New Hampshire.
Middleton, New Hampshire. All
Yep.
right.
It is south of Wolfboro, north of Farmington.
So the 3 was actual temperature, not wind chill temperature, right?
Well, the sensor is under a cantilevered overhang.
So, so it's probably actually colder than that.
It could
Yeah.
be colder than that because
Right.
it's near the house. The sensor at home for the little mini weather station that we have, that's in Chelmsford, obviously, it said, I think this morning, it was 56 degrees
53 at my house.
on the deck, but it was 47 on my car coming in. So we also want to make sure, we'll say it in the second hour too, make sure that all of your doors of your house are locked, the doors in your cars are locked. There was a post on Facebook in South Chelmsford that somebody was at home and noticed that there were 2 guys that quietly came to her back door and opened the storm door and tried the inside door, and when it didn't open, they quietly left. So we
that's
want to be
good.
very cautious, make sure that everything is locked, and that so that we don't have people, stealing stuff, and then you have to go through all kinds of insurance or whatever it is that you might be having.
Or a
So
physical.
Right now, the hot item across the country, they're just ripping your gutters and your downpipes right off your house.
why? Because it's aluminum.
It's been on TV, scrap metal, yeah, just ripping your gutters right off your
I already
house.
took mine off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any of that.
Gutters are the most useless things they ever put on a
Yeah,
house.
they cause more problems.
Cause
than they're
more
worth.
problems, ice dams.
I agree.
Right, but
I
the
took
gutters we
mine
had
off.
was PVC, so they
Yeah.
wouldn't be taking mine, that's for sure. And there's no gutters up at the lake either. And they're not gonna take anything up there. There's not enough metal on the outside of any of any of the houses that we own that anybody would take.
Boy, that's
And
really-
we take scrap metal because, up to the lake because there's a guy up there that collects it.
Oh, he must love you.
That's a new thing, taking the gutter, I mean,
It used to be, remember they broke in to take the copper pipes?
well,
They
I
broke into the
understand,
lake to take
I
the copper
understand
pipes?
copper, I understand copper, but the cheap aluminum and the alloy that they use to make those gutters,
it's
I mean,
not worth it.
that doesn't seem to me to be worth it, but what do I know?
No, copper's the key. You can make a few
Oh,
bucks.
yeah, copper, I get why they take the copper. That
I
makes
always went
perfect
to
sense.
Everett, down near the
Yeah.
casino, down that area to get rid of it.
The Nash opened up. Did you guys go?
No, I won't go to that.
Well, I have
We
no
should
idea.
have
I don't
one.
go to it either
I,
because I
uh,
don't
No, I
believe in
just
it.
won't. If I go to Foxwoods, if I do, I
Well,
go to
it's a
one
good thing
casino.
my mother-in-law isn't with us any longer, because if she was still here, she'd be up there every day.
I might take Nana up there for supper.
Now, are they open, are they fully open now, or?
Yeah, the fifth.
Frascarelli, Gary Francis, good friend of mine, he says they're open. So,
Oh, okay.
They open on the
the news
5th.
guy on WC.
I know Gary.
Yeah. So
No,
say,
actually, he's the morning host now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, when did that start?
Oh, a couple of months ago.
Oh, he took over from Jerry Nutter, right?
No, what they had a guy, Hartley Plushaw, and I don't know, you never know what the real story, he was doing the morning thing.
Okay.
When Jerry Nutter left, and then, now Frascarelli's doing it, Gary Francis is doing it. So and Plushaw's on in the afternoon.
Real name is Frascarelli, but stage
Huh?
name, real name is Frascarelli, stage name is Francis.
His radio name is Gary Francis.
He was the ice cream guy in,
Tasty,
In,
tasty stuff.
Chelmsford.
Yes, he makes
Right.
wonderful ice cream.
he
But he
said-
doesn't do that no more.
No, he sold the business, I think.
yeah, so Evelyn,
Yes.
I can't get a few things out of my mind. Lowell's really on fire to me right now as far as,
Oh, it's a good
Local-
thing it rained then, isn't it?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
local elections. Well, the rain's gonna help us. We're
Figures.
just,
Okay.
everything's gonna turn to soup though around construction sites, which I watch.
No,
My
that's
son
true.
does. It's just gonna be soup, you know? The thaw of the ground alone is gonna cause mud, you know, and this sloppiness, but in Lowell, Karen Casella, the name, because of her election, and sorry, Jim, her his mother died, so sorry for your
No,
loss.
that's too bad.
But I haven't seen an election in Lowell in my life like Karen Casella's because of who was against her. I mean, the state and everything. There were so many people against her. It's unbelievable. And she won by like $1 a vote compared to the other people who had to spend $6 or $7 a vote. It was incredible, but now Lowell has at least 4 people running in District 3, which is a powerhouse voting base, Sam. That's who, they're going to teach the city of Lowell how to vote.
Where is, geographically,
It's
where
Belvedere,
is?
Shed Park, Shed
Okay.
Park,
All right.
Lowell Cemetery area, my area. I've been moved into Belvedere through this redistricting. And hopefully I can bring some votes for the people
So
that I'm
Bobby,
going
your
to support.
plan is to run citywide?
I'm going to
school
run
committee?
citywide for the schools. I have to. I called the Belvedere people the swamp too many times,
Uh-oh.
okay?
You're in trouble.
No, my daughter, my son, they have a lot of friends in Belvedere, and the reason why I feel so positive that I have a shot for the second spot, there's only 2 spots, because of the girl that went there, McFadden. The name Hoey and McFadden goes pretty well with all my friends. They might think she's related to the McFaddens I know, and that would be a power boost. It's just, because you look for people to vote for you, period, right? And it's going to be fun for me. I'm telling you.
She'll do well, I think, too.
Well, like I just said, the schools, everybody thinks that's an easy seat to win. It's not really easy.
Well, it's not easy when you get there.
So who's leaving?
Yeah, it's not easy.
Who are you running against? You got,
Well,
you said
right
you
now,
have
the way it
two
looks-
seats are open, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, it's McFadden, Danielle McFadden, Jackie Doherty, Connie Martin, and myself. That would be 4.
Okay.
So 2 out of that 4. And I believe one's already on the way out anyways, because I don't believe Danielle McFadden entered this race not knowing someone, either Jackie or Connie, wasn't going to run.
One of the 2 women, the incumbents, is not going
Yeah.
to run again. Okay.
But again, it's just, there's nothing more important than our school system. It's 15,000 students, about a $255 million budget, special ed. My big thing's going to be discipline. Special ed will be something in the budget, in the money. It's crazy how much money we spend on the schools. And we haven't maintained them well. Finally, Danny Rourke as a mayor and Eric Gitcher, sorry I'm leaving others out, have brought us to a point that we maintain our schools, Sam. We're worried about our roofs. We're
Good.
worried about our gym floors.
Because it's a lot cheaper to maintain it than it is to fix it later.
Yeah.
You need to have
Oh, it's a lot cheaper to hire my sister.
No,
There you go.
can I just finish with this? One thing, it's almost like watching the Democrats the other night with Trump in the Lowell area, when you talk about where the high school should have been built. I told you, Cawley, okay? Listen, get over it. It's over. It's not Cawley anymore. So what if we found mistakes there? When we have about 28 schools, maybe 30, because we bought a few. I would have to say to you, when's the last time you ever built a school that lasted more than 3 years? 3 years where the boilers are down, the roofs are leaking. I don't know if it's that low bid, you have to pick the low bidder, but shoddy work. That's what it is. So when I hear these people out there, and you know who you are, saying, I told you, Cawley. Well, listen, it's not going to be Cawley. Get over that and help us out right now and finish the product, that's all.
We're already
Get over it.
We're already into the
Oh, but
project.
that's what I felt that coming out of the
Why are
city
they-
council meeting
Oh,
the other night. I watch it.
Ridiculous. Yeah,
I watch it.
drives you crazy.
And I'll tell you, citywide, city council, Evelyn, that's 3 people they pick, okay? And that race is going to be unbelievable. Because Belvedere has 4 people already running for my district. I'm in Belvedere now. It's so beautiful. It really is. It's almost like, someone's watching me.
Is Rita Mercier going to run again?
I would say so. I would
Yeah,
say so.
She's running.
All right.
But the 3 that are running for citywide race, and to me, this is an opinion show, Eric Gitch is the safest one. They got some new people throwing their names out for that race like Danielle McFadden did to the schools. No one ran for the schools last time. Nobody. They went, no opponents.
There's got to be some reason why you have so many people running, because Chelmsford didn't.
Redistricting.
And Sam had you had the show with the 3
Selectmen.
members of the Board of Selectmen. Those are the 2 new members, 1 incumbent. There was no competition. I'm not sure why there was no competition. Could be because people are busy.
Well, you don't pay people. Lowell, they get 25 grand. Bobby's going to get 12.
People
In past elections,
I like looking at
in
it
past
this way.
elections, we've had competition, John, regardless of whether or
Everyone,
not they're
times have
paid.
changed, okay? The expenses for a young couple with children are twice what they were when you had kids.
More than that.
Well, you don't have to tell me, I know.
Uh,
Kids.
Well,
but
I
we need to pay
understand.
these people. If
The-
you want
the
people to
interesting-
run,
I agree.
compensation's in order.
I agree with you. The interesting thing is, to Evelyn's point, there is no contested race for select board, which is unusual, because usually that is. But we do have contested race for school committee, and very often, school committee is uncontested.
Yeah, you walk in.
But this time it is contested. Contested race in the planning board, and get this, a super contested race for the housing authority. 1 seat, 3 people running for housing authority. That never happens, so
Well, do you think
that's
that
interesting.
Do you think that because a certain individual pulled, that other people go, we don't want that person there, we're going to run? Or the word got out and somebody that was like sitting on the
I
fence?
think that might be true on the housing authority, yes. Okay? The school committee, though, I think the 2 incumbents that are running would have run anyway, okay? It just so happens that a 3rd person did pull for that seat. But I think the incumbents would have run, in which case it would have been a no contest. But now you have a 3rd person in there. But the housing authority thing really blows my mind. I mean, that has never happened. We've got 3 people running for 1 seat. So I'm doing shows roundtable shows for all of the races. I did selectmen, even though selectmen isn't contested. It's an important position, so I figured, it's a way of introducing the candidates to the public.
And when is the one on that you're going to do for school committee?
School committee, unfortunately, is the 18th of March. That's the earliest I could get everybody together. I wanted to have everything wrapped up by next week, but next week I've got the Planning Board and Housing Authority I will do next week, and then March 18th will be school. It's still enough time to get it on the air, for a couple of weeks before the election, but
What's the easiest way for people to watch it? Chasing the Facts?
probably YouTube. Just go up on YouTube and put in Chasing the Facts, Chelmsford, okay? And it'll pop right up. Or you can go to the Chelmsford Telemedia website, and you can get it that way, too. All right, but probably for most people, the YouTube is the easiest.
Well, Sam, do you
way.
send a text out to your loyal viewers?
Facebook goes out. I don't do it, the Telemedia does it, but it does go out on Facebook.
I'll get you. Thanks.
Yeah.
I see a
And then
nice,
there are some other sites that will pick up on it, and they will then share it on their site.
Lowell Cable occasionally picks up my show. It's hit or miss. They don't do it regularly, but once in a while they will show my show. The head of our telemedia in Chelmsford, Pete Padula, is a Lowell resident. Okay, and he told me that he says, you can get the show, but it's not regular, so it's hit or miss. But you can get it on YouTube.
You want to say something about
yeah, I like, when I sit between you two, I have a good time, I really do. I try to look for things, I'm not gonna lie, I try to look for things that I can kind of like dump on Chelmsford, because I always want to beat them, and they're so hard to beat. The way you do get beat is by the state, right? The foundation budget. I don't think you get treated fairly. And I'll say one thing. Someone from the Westford Academy, I seen a nice picture of him. Bruce Rich Jr. Nice family picture with 3 children. He's the wrestling coach in Westford Academy. So that to me puzzles me, because you had Bruce Rich, the father.
Yep.
And boy, he was tough. I don't care what it was, softball, wrestling.
Not only that, he was a nice guy.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
but
think,
you remember, though, Bob,
I
that
know.
sometimes you start out one place, but you may end up somewhere else. So it's not as if it's etched in stone that he stays there.
No, but
Depends
I
on if
think
he's
what-
waiting for a place over here.
What I think hurts Chelmsford a little bit is, and you talked about it for years, nobody knows more about the foundation budget, I believe, than you.
They're not
No,
necessarily.
and Sam
things have
says it too.
changed.
Westford gets
yeah.
taken care of to me. For some reason. I mean, look at everything they do. I look at their firehouses, it's incredible. They look like they should have been in Manhattan.
Well, they're
so-
a richer town.
Oh,
so,
no, I hear you there.
yeah.
But that's where we lose out. We lose a lot of good people that could have been, like teachers. I had so much fun the other day when I said teachers are underpaid again. I said the good teachers, the ones that don't need team teaching to help them out and run a classroom. Those type of people, when they retire, Sam, they get 32, 34, 40 years as a teacher. If they were that good, right, you're telling me to bring them in to deal with 4 kids that can't read, tutor's the word right now. They don't deserve $50 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Of course they do.
They're getting 40. Thank God they're getting 40. That's a.
Well, the question is, can they attract enough people at 40? Or are
I think they do,
Okay.
but again, I think it's at a time, and paras still are underpaid, and the cooks, forget the cooks. We got to talk about food in the city. I mean, I've never voted for that Amarak or Amarak, whatever you want to say that company
no,
is.
don't hire those people.
I never did vote for their contract.
I had experience with them. I worked with them for years. They were both a customer and a vendor of mine. So I've had, and they struck out on both counts. I've never in my life dealt with a more difficult company to do business with.
And the last thing I want to say,
Yeah.
Evelyn, about Chelmsford when it comes to education,
Maybe I'll get
especially,
sued now for
the
saying
one thing
that.
I picked up on the past couple of years, sitting between
Yeah.
us, is I think Lowell should do what Chelmsford did, separate 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. We got 28, 29, maybe 30 schools. We can do it too.
It's work.
I think it's a great thing
It's
that you did.
actually, I've talked to Dr. Lang several times about it, and it's actually worked out well. The only thing is, if you're talking to Dr. Lang, do not refer to the 7th and 8th grade as junior high. He does not like that. And we had that conversation, and he said, I said, Jay, I'm 77 years old. I said, for most of my life, 7th and 8th grade was junior high. It's sort of like trying to get rid of the word Board of Selectmen, okay?
Yeah, that's very difficult for
Very,
me.
I mean, I finally got it, but it took me almost 2 years, okay? Once in a while I'll slip, but it's tough. If you grow up saying something for 60 years and then all of a sudden they change the terminology, it's not easy to make the change. So I said to him, well, 7th and 8th will always be junior high to me, so that's, we'll leave it at
And
that.
another thing, Evelyn,
Yeah.
when you bring Paul Cohen on the show and you bring Jay Lang on the show, I miss Jay Lang
We
once
should
or
have them on
twice.
together.
Well, I know,
Well,
I have stories
like
about
them
Jay Lang, and what I could tell you, number
individually.
one, there's nobody better when it comes to numbers in the budget
Oh.
of schools, nobody.
I just sat down with him Monday morning. We had our budget, I'm on the finance committee in Chelmsford. We had our budget review, and I tell you, he is so well prepared. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You guys remember what he
Yeah.
said to us on City Life a few years ago, I think it was? He said, you're going to have a rough year,
Evelyn, you want to read these
2025.
two, please?
When people think others have a good chance to win in elections, you see competition. An open seat filled without voter input will always bring competition, especially when others felt as though they are the best candidate and were not given a fair chance to represent. Every person running for District 4 took the time to put resumes together and feel they were not given a fair opportunity based off their experience and what they offered to the city.
Okay, Bob,
What's
Yeah.
District 4?
what does that last paragraph, what does that mean? People put together resumes, and
Yeah.
they weren't given a fair opportunity? What does that mean?
I don't know if they're talking about, telling people like the Lowell Sun maybe or something like that, what they're going to run for, and they never really got it.
Well,
I don't
think
know, but
Part of the problem is, how do, you got newbies running for office. How do you communicate? They don't have my cell phone number, they don't have your cell phone number. So how do you get on TV? How do you get in the news? They don't have Melanie Gilbert's cell phone number.
Yeah.
They don't have Gary Francis' cell phone number.
Yeah.
So how do you get on the radio?
And forget the newspaper, as a political thing, I mean, that's just about dead now anyway.
Well, the politicians.
let me say this for a comeback, what you just said, John. Tonight, anybody that's new that's running, go to the Golden Gloves. It's the final night, tonight,
go.
Yeah,
Thursday.
biggie, it's a biggie.
Well, you go in there and they got the radio station right there. You could talk to Kiki Rudy, Marty Laurie, I believe John Dakota's there doing it too. And
Yep,
there's,
they're all gonna be live on the radio,
They're going to
yep.
be live, and you could go in and say hi, and they give you a little airtime, and that's the way to start. If you're watching this show, call John McDonough.
My younger son has season tickets. So he's been there.
Oh, that's good.
The kids have been there for the 50-50 raffle. We
Supposed
talked,
to be a dry night, a little windy, but it'll be dry. And it's inside.
so we were talking about education. There's quite a number of things because we're coming into, let's see, what is this, March. So you come into near like the end of the academic year. I just want to make sure that people know with the Arts Technology Education Fund that there are applications available. People in the school system, I'm going to have them send another reminder out for that. The application is, as far as I'm aware, is online on the town website. If anybody wants to make a donation, they just have to do that through the town treasurer's office, as long as you notate it's for the Arts and Technology Education Fund. So I got
On
my.
your tax bill, on your real estate tax
Yes,
bill.
you have two tear-offs. One is excise tax, and the other one is real estate tax. I may try to see if we can do something with the sewer bill with John Souza, but because the template's there. It's just a question of adding another perforated tear-off, and people don't have that paid through mortgage agencies or banks. So that's one. You have a number of competitions that's out there, whether it's in sports or it's in academics or in music and art. So there's a lot of different things that's available if people are interested in actually attending some of those things. There was DECA. DECA is the Distributive Education Clubs of America. And what it does, it supports like business and industry, things along those lines. You can certainly look it up. There's a lot of details with it. But my oldest grandson is a member of that, competed, and came in first.
Congratulations.
And I did send, I don't know if John got it, but I did send him something through.
I did, it didn't open, it's Friends of the Chelmsford can only open that.
Oh,
Well, it's on the Chelmsford school website. So that
I'll go over and look at that
you
in
can
a
take
second.
that, it's there, there's an article, and that's how I got it. Somebody else must have put it up, and then they cut and pasted, or they did something with it. So, or copied it to the site. So that was kind of interesting. And so it deals with business, and he does a very good job. And it appeared as though he was the only sophomore that won. It's all juniors and seniors.
Good for
And
him.
my youngest son was in DECA, because he thought he was going to go into business to a certain extent. But sometimes finances just don't allow you to be able to do what you really want to do. So I thought I'd let everybody know that. We had Ash.
When's your next arts and technology meeting?
I haven't scheduled one, but usually we have it probably in April. Because
Okay.
what we do is if we have applications,
I'll
we
warn
screen.
my wife.
Oh, well, I'll let her know, because I got to send out something this week. And I got to check to see if there's a select board meeting on Monday night.
There is.
And so today I'll see if I can get on the agenda for public announcements, and if not, then I'll just go during public comments and input, because, you can, not a problem.
It's better to be scheduled if you
Oh, yeah,
can
because
do
I'm up
it.
first.
Right.
I'm sorry I don't have more information, but maybe if I explain it a little bit, you probably seen it in Chelmsford. They have teachers from around the world
Oh, yeah,
that are
that's
in-
also on the site,
that are in
website.
your system right now, working with our teachers and giving kids like different cultures across the world. That's a pretty nice idea. I'd like to see the outcome of that. Yeah.
There was, if I can recall correctly, when I was on the school committee, some of the younger teachers that had been hired, and I don't remember exactly who to give credit to, so I apologize, because that was quite a while ago. The older you get, sometimes you don't remember all the details. But there was like an exchange in terms of teachers, and our teachers went to someplace like in Africa, and
I remember
and
that.
and then
Yeah.
people from there came to us, and there was that kind of a thing that was to see how everything was in the technology that was there versus here, and to try to help the information and the education background of our staff with them, and to see the insight into the cultural aspects with us. So it was a very, I thought it was very innovative, and it was very good, because it doesn't hurt to share what innovative techniques that you have in education, whether it's technology or not, or methods or approaches to things and resources with other cultures. And that way then you establish a good rapport. I don't know if we still have exchange students.
This comment from the same person in the audience, the current person representing, he meant District 3, he corrected himself in another text, was appointed when the elected person resigned, when John Leahy resigned, Corey Belanger got appointed. The other three candidates for the position feel as though they should have been given an opportunity in an
Right,
election.
yeah.
Who does the appointment? Who makes the appointment?
The manager makes all the decisions, and they just kowtow.
The vote of the city council, right?
So the so if you have a vacancy in the city council votes to fill that position, is that how it
Yeah.
works?
and-
Okay.
And Eric Getcher, again, he went out to get us to be able to vote for them.
Okay.
And it was, the city council said, no way. They voted and said, we're going to appoint the person.
I wish we did it, I mean, it doesn't happen really often enough to make a difference, but I wish we did it that way in Chelmsford, because if you look at the charters of the towns around us, most of them, and you just confirmed it for Lowell too, do it the same way. If we have a vacancy in our select board, the select board cannot fill that vacancy by appointment. There has to be an election. That is not normal. Most of the towns around us, they have a provision in their charter that says if there's a vacancy on the select board can make an appointment.
Did you try to get that changed when you were on the committee?
Yes, I did, and I was the only one who thought it was a good idea.
Well, they go
Well,
back into like the old,
Evelyn, you want to read this one?
Yeah,
District 4 is a mess. Downtown, Pawtuckaville, Centerville, Acre, Back Central, too many sections of the city to properly represent any of them. Was that designed that way?
Yeah, it was gerrymandered.
all right, so.
No,
okay.
it wasn't. Yes, it was.
So what that means is that when they designed the district, they did it on purpose
To keep Hoey out of the race.
to get
No,
that
that
result.
had nothing
right?
to do with me, but
Oh,
I'm so
yes,
glad.
it did,
Oh, well,
Bobby.
let me tell you something. I'm so glad I live in Belvedere. I'm in the swamp. There's nothing
You're in
wrong
the
with
swamp.
that. Yeah, but we have to we have to be patient. They got the new swamp is the city manager in Pawtuckaville and
Why is
God's
Bel-
country, and they deserved it. Listen, Belvedere has controlled the city for years because they vote. They're going to give you another lesson this year, and it's the top 3
They
citywide
vote
candidate.
and they write checks.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
they
so
vote.
let
They
me-
vote. Let me tell you something right now. That's win or lose is in Belvedere this year.
And you know, you can't complain about that because people have a right to vote. So my question is,
See,
when-
District 3, that's Belvedere.
Right.
That's what he's talking about right
right.
here.
So when they redistricted and they went to this hybrid model where you have district representation on the council and school committee and so on and so forth, as I remember the lawsuit, one of the reasons they did that was to increase voter participation.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Did it?
my question
No.
to you is, did it work?
It worked in one way as far as I'm concerned. More people think they can get elected. It's easier.
It's
than-
easier to get
it's-
elected
I
from a
believe
district.
it is. I
Well,
believe
you have a
it is.
smaller area to canvass.
That's
But I'll
right.
tell you, if you look at 3, who's
Yeah.
going to probably have somewhere upwards of about 50% of their voter turnout, how's that? That's how they vote. With the
Well,
rest of the city will
God
vote at
bless 'em.
about 8%, 7%, maybe 10 if they're lucky citywide.
So in other
District
words,
eight.
it really, so when they redid that, it really did not bring the overall city voting numbers
You know,
up, is
when
what you're
John
saying.
said they brought me in,
Yeah.
the line is about 50 feet away from my house. But who it's hurt the
They
most?
screwed you, Bob.
No, who it's hurt the
Can you
most?
shut your mic off? Why am I not hearing you?
I don't know, but who?
That's better.
Who it hurts the most is Kim Scott in District 5, because
in
Morton
5?
Street is where they cut it off, yep. And anything to the left side, like Sandgord going toward Whipple Road and Tewksbury, anything between Woburn Street and that street, all vote in Belvedere now.
I see.
Including me.
Okay, John mentioned gerrymandering a minute ago, so I'm looking at this thing, and it looks pretty clear to me that 4 was gerrymandered.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I think they could have done a little better with that, but
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
if you want to win that seat, you got to be
Yeah.
powerful in the Jackson Street area
Yeah.
where all the apartments are downtown Market
Yeah.
Street, and that's why it's pretty hard to, there is a Hillary Clark out there. Hillary, I
I
think
want
you.
the audience to remember that the river goes right through this district.
yeah.
The river's right there.
Okay.
And downtown, so this has, District 4 starts at the Dracut line and goes to the Lowell Connector.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, see, I would have liked Paul Belay in that district, but he's not going to
And
run.
in the midsection there, the narrowest part, what are we talking about in terms of distance? That-
Downtown.
Yeah, but that's like, what, a half a mile or maybe a quarter of a mile across? That's bizarre.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, but they had to make it up somehow, and did they determine it, this,
They
obviously
could
it
have
wasn't
done
by,
better, Evelyn. They could have done
oh,
better.
I'm
There's
sure.
Yeah, there's enough population for them to have drawn the lines a little
It
bit
was all
more
about
sensibly.
screwing Hoey. That was a,
The gal that lost to Del Rossi,
Hillary Clark?
Hillary Clark, still lives in 4. So I'm telling you, if she
She
ever.
should
ca-
run for city council.
Oh, she-
Hillary, run
she-
for city council.
Yeah, I'd love to see her run. She was awesome. She was awesome, but redistricting kind of killed her.
That helped Eileen, did it?
Yeah, well, Eileen had a hot, Corey Robinson's race in Centerville was really hot at the time. And I think she benefited by that. And I'm pretty sure one of the Gitches, maybe Lee Gitche, was kind of behind her too. Because it helps to have those type of people.
But she also knows, she's a teacher, and she
Yep,
knows a lot
special
about
ed, that's
special
what-
education.
yeah.
Doesn't
You know, she
hurt.
does have credentials,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's important to have somebody that understands the workings of
Yeah.
that personally.
But just to
because
get the teacher vote is important, I mean, they're
Yeah.
gonna
That's
vote
if you
for
can
her.
get them out to vote.
Right.
It depends on how many people there are as
That's
far as
how
staff in your
that's how I
system.
got to be a selectman.
Yeah, that's all I
They
had
know
to
people
do.
too.
My wife got me 600 votes, easy. If it hadn't been for her, I never would have won the race.
The first time I run, it was George O'Hare, Bill Topia, and myself fighting for seat number 6, the last seat. And all I kept preaching was how much teachers were underpaid. And that's back in the 90s.
So they loved you.
Every husband to a teacher said, thanks, Bob, you're a good guy, buddy, you're a good guy.
There you go.
And I made sure I sat at the table and they weren't going to get less than 4, 4, and 4. I think those years are over. Those
They are.
3-year contracts, I
They
mean,
are.
we can't keep doing stuff like that.
Right,
That's
but when
it.
I got elected, I didn't promise any of that stuff. I only said that I would be fair. I understood what they did, wanted to make sure that whatever I found out financially, everybody else knew. And to design things to stay a little bit more conservative than to go into a liberal thing, because that's what the constituency
Evelyn, you
was.
likely know, a Lowell teacher makes $10,000 more a year than a Chelmsford teacher.
Yes.
$10,000 more.
We tried to bring more equity with regard to that,
Oh,
but
that's
it
a
was
nice
very
word.
difficult to do.
We'll
Not,
give you free relish for your hot dog, yes.
right, but
But
I
it's
mean,
a
in
different-
terms of
it's-
having
it's a
it
di-
equal between,
It's money, Ev.
But it's a different
yeah.
teaching
But
situation.
it was also a different definition,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
that, I think, you know,
But because of Lowell's politics, Chelmsford's able to swoop a lot of people out of Lowell for a lower salary.
not
Because of Lowell's
teachers,
politics.
not teachers, administrative people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like the politics of it. I don't blame them. I don't like it either.
Do you know who that guy is? We can't fire him. He's related to the city councilor so-and-so.
You know what's interesting about all of that stuff when you talk about the nepotism aspect of things? All of the elected officials and many of your municipal employees have to take a conflict of interest test. The question I would have, and throw it out there to anybody that's listening, is if you are an employee of some sort, or elected, or appointed in the city of Lowell, have you taken it?
They're supposed to.
I understand that, but that doesn't mean that they do that.
I've
Just
taken
like
them.
you don't have people on the school committee do charting the course.
So, John, the way you find that out is your city clerk would be in charge of keeping that record. So if you want to find out who in your city government has taken the conflict of interest test, call your city clerk and they'll have that record.
I do emails, and I
Well,
I
okay,
sent an
but
email
that's-
recently, thank you.
that's the
I'll try,
person.
I'll,
that's
The
the
test that I remember.
I'll send Mike Geary.
The test that I remember that I had to take for that, John, would be, you didn't even have to read the question. You could hit, let's say, A, and would say, no, you're wrong. B, no, you're wrong.
But
Then
they've-
C, you got it, and they'd get you to the next one.
Right, but today it's true and false.
They've redesigned it.
I hope
Yes.
so.
I just, in fact,
I had 5 questions, because I just did it.
I just did mine too, yeah.
Yes, so,
yeah.
not that I had to do it, but I did it anyway.
Yeah,
And
you
then
had to
noticed
do
I had
it.
to do something else too. So, and then it used to be that you had to print it out, and you had to physically
Never
get
mind
it.
those days. What's happening now, 2025?
I am going to say that
I
in the
know
next
that. It's a
breath.
long story.
So today, apparently, whatever you do with it, my name appeared, and it said, your results have been recorded and will be sent to your town clerk.
Correct.
So they have everything all linked.
Right.
Computer-wise, anyway.
I
so
sent
that
it-
all
I-
that information goes directly, and I don't have to do anything
Well, I
anymore.
did it anyway.
Well, let me back up.
printed
I
it out
couldn't
and I
print it.
sent- Yeah, oh, you couldn't print it?
No,
Oh,
I
was-
couldn't.
I printed mine,
Sam,
printed.
if you could hold your thought for
Go
one
ahead.
second, I want to ask, Bobby just said that when you took the examination, it fed you the right answer. When
Right.
you took the examination, Evelyn, what was your experience? Did it feed you the right answer, or?
No,
It doesn't feed you the answer. It gives you, there were 5
Multiple
questions.
choice.
You had a
Okay.
whole hour, you had to
So you
devote to
clicked the
this.
wrong answer, what happened?
It says incorrect, the right answer is, and then they explain why.
And they let you,
And then you go to the next question.
did they let you select the
Right.
right answer?
Yeah, no, you don't do that, you just move on to the next question.
Understood, thanks.
The
It's
thing
re-
is that they want
Yeah.
you to be trained.
it's just an awareness session.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
They want you to be trained so
Right.
that you understand what conflict of interest is.
And it's a lot, actually, when they first started that, it was like a 2-hour thing, and it was more complicated.
Yeah, because you had questions after each one of the sections to see what you remembered.
And what they found out was that people weren't taking the test because it was too much work. And so they did.
can't fail it.
So they did water it down because
Well, they streamlined it quite a
Yeah.
bit, but I thought
It's
that,
only about an hour, I think.
that's what I said, it's
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
And then you've got a 10-minute something or other that, or 2 minutes, or whatever the thing is, of a separate part of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's something that is easily enough checked on.
Yeah.
Just like with charting the course, if you are an elected school committee member, you are supposed to go through that training so that you understand.
What happens if you don't?
Nothing. There's no bite to it.
Now, see,
There's no penalty, and there should be.
that's not how they do the assessors.
In
If you-
District 2023, District 3 ran unopposed. Then he got a cushy city job and stepped down. Now everyone wants that job. I hope the candidates come in to earn my vote. At least the current rep in District 3 ran last time and put the time in.
This is city council he's talking about?
Correct. That's Belvedere.
Yeah, but this,
They're talking about Corey Belanger.
and,
okay.
and Bart, I just have to respond to you because you're gonna never see what you see this year in District 3. They already have 4 candidates, maybe 5 running in that district. To me, that's showing you that it could be 100 votes, 10 votes can win that race. It's gonna be split up like you've never seen. Who wins is another story. I was talking to some people like Eric Itchell, for instance. I always talk to him. I drive him crazy. Coach Cassidy out at the Greater Lowell Technical High School. People that draw a lot of attention. You know what I mean? Saying they can get votes. They work for people like myself. I'm going to work very hard for a kid named Dan Finn. Sorry, Corey Belanger. You know, I liked Corey last time, but he didn't win the race. He come in 4th. Ned Tommy, my friend that's out there. Ned, I remember Ned saying to me, Bob, if that election ever went 2 more weeks, Corey would have overtaken Vesna Noon because of the issue of those ADUs. That's what won the race. Eric Itchia topped the ticket because Belvedere wanted nothing to do with ADUs.
Of course they didn't.
And they're the voting base, though. That's why he
Yeah.
went to the top. He went to the top. Rita stayed second because she was on the same side of the issue. And Vesna Noon I felt bad for the guy in a way because he lives in a district where they all want ADUs. They want to live with their grandparents. They want their family to be with them. That's how they live. It's their culture. And that affected that race big time. In District 3, beware because those people will pick the citywide
The
candidates.
ADU issue was funny because it did not matter what anybody did at the local level. The state was going to jam it down your throat anyway.
Right, but you
Okay,
still
and
had
so it was-
somewhat of
right.
control, because once you do your own thing, you can modify it after that. But
Very slightly. And don't forget, if you do modify it, the Attorney General's going
Yeah,
to come in.
they still have to approve it.
And going to say whether that's right or wrong. So
Now,
the state's going to shove it down your throat anyway.
has anything progressed yet as far as having the legislature audited?
No.
So they still believe that, closed books, we'll do whatever we want to do, and
I mean,
because if you had nothing to hide, you would say, sure,
If-
look at everything that we're doing, make sure
Hello?
that you explain to the general public what we're doing. So all of,
Leadership doesn't want it, it's not going to happen.
I understand, and I understand why. And so if you don't like the fact that the state legislature in Massachusetts is not wanting to be audited or take a look at the books, see how they're spending your money, then find somebody else to vote for.
It's not your money, and it's the government's money.
no, that's the
It's
way
still my money.
That's the way they look at it.
No, you've paid your taxes. It's the government's money.
Well, if the government isn't run by the people, then we have an issue, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Well, the government isn't run by the people.
So,
And it hasn't been for almost 100 years. So there you go.
right, now you got people wanting to run the government as far as Washington goes, you've got an awful lot of
It's the
pushback.
same level, it's the same issue at the federal level, only it's greatly magnified at the federal level.
Yeah, so when Glenn gets here, we'll talk about all of that stuff, because there's some, there's a lot of interesting information that's out there, and there's a lot of things that people are not taking a look at. I mean, I am not responding to the inaccuracies on Facebook. There's a lot of
Don't
it,
ever
people-
engage politically on Facebook. It's a huge
I already
mistake.
did that once a
No, don't ever
long
do
time
it.
ago,
Don't
and
ever do it.
and all I wanted to do was to try to get an idea of how they were thinking.
They're not interested.
No.
You are not ever,
No, they don't want to know my opinion.
ever going, that's number one. That's why I never
Fake
say
book,
anything.
right? Fake
Yeah,
book.
Nobody, here's the thing, folks, that
Glenn
I've
puts
learned.
his on. I'm sure he's been blocked by everybody.
Nobody cares what I think. They don't. People have their minds made up, and it doesn't matter whether their opinion is based on nothing, and the facts are all against them. It doesn't matter. You will never change their mind, ever. Don't waste your time on Facebook.
I'm looking at, last night I went to
Right.
Mark Crapman's campaign party, and Diana DiZoglio was there.
Oh,
In person, lovely gal. That's Eric Ryder. He's a selectman in Tewksbury. And she get up and she chatted about the wonders of Mark Crapman, what a good guy
Oh,
he is.
good.
But,
Good for her.
Charming gal, take questions, talk to anybody, and really, really nice person.
well, she's a maverick, and because she came from the state legislature, and they don't like it. They don't like her, and they don't like the fact that she wants to look at the books. It's just that simple.
Well, she didn't.
So-
She didn't seem disgruntled. Or
I voted for her.
Such a happy camper last night.
Yeah.
Good to see her shake
The
her hand.
woman ran, and she said, "I want to
Congratulations,
do
Mark.
an."
You got quite the crowd there.
When she ran, and part of her campaign was, "I want to do an audit," and I said, "That's the one for me," and I put the X next to her name. I want that audited.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to run out of time within the first hour, so I wanted to just touch base
15.
with one of my interesting adventures lately, and that's trying to get my mother into a nursing home.
Oh,
Now, my sister either called
there she
or,
is.
do you want to talk more about this than what I'm talking about?
No, I thought it was up on the screen. It was not up on the screen when I was describing it earlier, just to let people know.
Yes, and you were live on Facebook last night.
I put it up on Facebook Live.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to pick up here than go over to YouTube twice and find it.
There's Diana right there.
Yeah. So it was a nice little gathering out at
Yeah.
TJ Callahan's in Tewksbury.
Yep.
Yummy. It was good. I enjoyed it, every minute of it. I sat there with Rodney Elliott, Karen Casella, and Kim Scott. We were all sat at the same table. It was pretty good.
This
Good time.
girl's from Methuen, right?
Yeah, she's
Yes.
good.
Yes. Yeah, I like her actually.
That's Mark Crapman, the guy standing
Yep.
there. He's been on the show plenty of times. And so back to you, Ev. You want to talk about your mom? Sorry.
Yeah, briefly.
Go.
Of course, we never know how brief is defined as. All in the speaker's approach to brief. So each week I've been trying to explain to people, this particular process. And it has become definitely a challenge as to trying to navigate what you do or you don't do, because there's no tutorial on it. There's not very much that we've been found, how you find anything online. So my sister had called an organization, I think she had called an organization called Two Sisters to see if we could engage with them. This is yesterday. And so, or she read about it online, one of two. They charge $450 an hour if they take your case. And if you use them, it could cost you up to $1,500. And I don't know if there are any guarantees that
What do they do?
they find locations for you that you can visit. They walk you through what that process is in order to get your applications
So
into
they're like
the organization.
they're like a broker almost.
They're like a consultant.
Yeah, okay.
And so my sister said exactly what I had said before, and that was, this is what we're doing, is exactly what they're doing. So we don't need to engage anyone and hire somebody to do what we've already done. And we asked for a caseworker, and the caseworker that was assigned to us in this area where I live, where we are, put up on my mother's portal an analysis, a list of all of the nursing homes and whatever the surveys and whatever was done by the state and everything, and there's, a score. And so I will let everybody know that when I access that with all of the locations, long-term care, skilled nursing facilities, that whether you were here in the Merrimack Valley or you were on the South Shore, everybody has the same problems. The food, the amount of care in terms of medical care, and the care with the nurses. It's all the same. so no matter what your ratings are, it would be more of a preference of what you like, and I would encourage people to visit locations. But every time we turn around, we're learning something else. And I'm here to give free advice.
Good.
Okay, so if you have an elderly parent, family member, you know somebody that does, that at some point, that person may need to go into a facility,
Hey, look, I'll be right there.
a long-range facility. Sometimes it's sooner than later because they may have a stroke. They may have some kind of an accident. They can't be taken care of at home. Any number of reasons. But if you have someone and it seems to be they're aging and that you want to start about a year out because they're in high demand, the beds, because there's so many of us that are getting to that age bracket where you need to have more medical care.
What you mean, we, Kimusabi?
Well, right now I have a 103-year-old mother.
Right.
And
So you're relatively young by comparison.
So, at 73, she went to assisted living. I would make the suggestion, if you're listening, that if you look for a facility for assisted living, could be for yourself. Make sure that that particular organization or location also has long-range, long-term
Long-term
care.
care, yeah.
Or nursing, skilled nursing. Some of them also have short-term care. So you want to make sure that that is available to you, because that way then, if you've already put the money into the assisted living, then those places will then find you a bed in long-term care. That was told to me by one facility. The next thing is that you got to make sure that your applications are filled out correctly and in its entirety. I had a phone call yesterday or the day before to ask about status in one that supposedly had told my sister, oh, she's on a wait list, and they didn't have certain key information that was put into the application. So my sister had to call, make sure that they got that information, and then they also need health records, and you need to make sure that you have, or your parent has, or family member, or a friend, or whoever it is, has made sure with their primary care physician that they have actually signed off to allow any facility to access their records. And usually the record they're looking for is your last physical and whatever medications that you have. It all has to be signed by a doctor or by whoever it is that's in charge currently of that medical aspect of things. So if you have money in the bank, you cannot wait until you run out of the money. You have to start a year in advance to make sure that you can find a place that you actually like.
So you think you should plan on having it take at least a year to go through that whole process?
If you don't want to be
place?
as anxious and have the anxiety that my sister and I are having currently, we felt as though if she had a certain amount of money left, we would start the process at that point. You want to start well in advance of that. You could start 3 months.
Well, that's
We've
all-
already been
yeah.
at it 3 months.
That's always good advice.
Right, but
Yeah.
we've already been at it 3 full months, and we're still not.
You're still hanging fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that she won't be placed next week in one or two places, and then I have a choice to make, because I would really like her up by us so that my children would be able to visit her, and then it's easier for me, because sometimes it's a 2-hour trip one way. It'll be interesting this morning, since I have to take her to
Oh.
a doctor's appointment.
I think the issue is the level of care the person needs. So just for example, we talk about this because my wife and I are getting older. And so my daughter says, stop talking about going to a facility, you're going to live with us. Well, that's all well and good as long as we're physically able to do that. What Evelyn is talking about is a situation where the person needs constant surveillance, basically. So I get to be 95 and I am in that position. My daughter can't stay home. She has to go work. She can't stay home and look after me. And even if she could, she doesn't have the proper medical background and training to be able to give me what I need. So this is what we're talking about.
Right, but there's a couple of pieces to that that people also need to know.
So-
That you can, there's a lot of services that are out there. I'm going to explain another situation so people understand that one, because I have about 2 minutes. I know you want
That's
to say
okay.
something.
No.
So you have healthcare individuals that you can hire. You have hospice, depending upon your situation. You have the Visiting Nurses Association, and that the VNA, which is not veterans, but you have those nurses, and there's physical therapists, there's occupational therapists, there's all kinds of stuff. You can have them on a short-term basis. Like when I had my hips replaced, I had them on a very short-term basis because of the way I didn't need to be taken care of like that. I have a friend of mine who may have 6 months to live. She has hospice. She has the Visiting Nurses Association. She has all of the different services coming into her home. It is less expensive to do that
Yeah.
than to be in a facility.
We did that for my mother-in-law.
And
You're
they also
absolutely right.
I thought that there was a bill in the state legislature that was going, or maybe federal, that was going to pay family members to take care of their, whoever it is, parent, aunt, uncle, father. And sometimes there's training that can come with that, basic training. But as far as the distribution of drugs, or any prescription drugs or painkillers, that is something that Visiting Nurse Association would have to have. Sometimes there's other doctors that are involved with regard to that. So there are a lot of
Yeah.
ins and outs if you're going to try to do that at home.
And I want to plug VNA because, again, we had that for my mother-in-law, and they were fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, they really,
They're on the ball.
And if you can, if it's at all possible to have the person at home, generally that's what the person would prefer, and that's what we did for my mother-in-law. And the Visiting Nurses Association, they were really, I was very impressed. And anyone who knows me knows it takes a lot to impress me.
You
right?
know, if I can,
Go
if
ahead.
I can squeeze this
Yeah.
in, I hope,
Yes.
Evelyn, you keep talking about this issue because there's so much to talk about, like people that do home care for their parents. It's a hard job. It's not something easy to do, that's for sure. But the little research that I did in my lifetime, I drove Uber and taxi in Burlington and Woburn area, and I used to drive the people in that took care of your mother and father, and they're getting $10 an hour. I remember it very well.
Crazy.
They're all from a certain country. Most of them are Haitian, nice people, treat me like gold, and I can't believe they were only getting $10 an hour when they charge between $12, $15, sometimes $18,000 a month for your mother to be in that place.
Well, also
It's
a
all
lot-
for profit in my eyes, and that's a big issue that they
there are-
have to fix.
So before, we have about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You can get long-term care insurance. There is insurance that's out there. And you have your medical insurance that will pay for some of the services. So you have to look into that. So we're going to go to a break.
Oh, good.
And
I
when we
need
come
more
back,
coffee.
Glenn will join us and we'll talk a little bit more about national politics.
Okay.
All the time.
welcome back to City Life. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I'm your host for the next 59 minutes, 58 minutes. We have my co-hosts Sam Chase and Bob Hoey. We know that Bob needs to leave a little bit early, so
That's
we
why
won't
he's
get
on
any-
the end.
Yep, that's why. Yeah, and also if he has certain comments, we will make sure he gets those in. John McDonough is behind the camera, and we have Glenn Thoren as our. I know, I have a difficult time doing that because I do live with them.
Just terrible. You're terrible.
Well, you could also put Glenn Thoren, PhD, if you wanted to do it that way. That's, yeah, there you go. Okay.
As I guess
Senior.
this morning, a lot of stuff is going on a national level. However, before we get involved with that, you are still part-time working for a particular company, and they have a location in Lowell. So
Oh.
could you give us a little bit of information with regard to that? So now your business has a
I did not-
link.
Oh, you're talking to me?
You're funny.
Okay.
I did
You
not
are
know
awake,
that.
aren't you? I told you I was going to ask the question.
So, Draper Laboratories, which was founded many years ago, essentially as a part of MIT, the instrumentation laboratory. In 1970, early 1970s, it separated from MIT and became the Charles Stark Draper Laboratory. And, oh, by the way, Tony Stark on the Marvel series, you know, he got his last name from the middle name of Charles Stark Draper, which was interesting, because Dr. Draper was involved in developing the navigation systems for the Apollo project, also to put a man on the moon, designed aiming systems for guns during World War II so that we could actually hit something we were shooting at. Especially on ships, so they would determine the airplane's altitude and trajectory and put the bullets where the airplane was going to be, and the bullets in the airplane would arrive at the same place at the same time, which was good for our guys. So now we're growing the company. We're getting more involved into microelectronics, which we've been involved in for many years, and we are going to be building a building on the UMass Lowell campus. And right now, we're occupying some space in a place called Wanalancet Mills. I don't know whether anybody in Lowell knows where that is, but it's right down by the Tsongas Center.
I think most people know where it is in Lowell. Right.
And it's an enormous building, extremely well constructed, and there are companies in there, but it's definitely not full. We have occupied a significant space on the third floor of that building, which I go into occasionally, and it's part of a transition for Draper's move of people and equipment into the new structures that we're going to put up at UMass Lowell. Everything's going to take a couple of years.
Now, are they moving completely out of Cambridge?
Oh, no. We're growing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, we have subsidiaries. We have branches of the company, divisions of the company down in Washington, D.C., in Texas, in Florida. You know, we're all over the nation. Not in a large format. We've got people down in Huntsville, but we have people, a substantial contingent of people all over the place. And it is difficult to get into Cambridge, let's face it.
Oh, it's impossible.
Kendall Square is difficult, and there's a lot of people that want to work at Draper and find it so hard to get there, they say, no, maybe not. And we want those people. And so in microelectronics, we have tremendous skills and capability in microelectronics, so those are going to be a key part of the facility we're going to build at UMass Lowell. So right now, we've got a contingent space, probably hold about 50 people in Wanalancet Mills, and it's not full yet, but we're filling it up. It just opened, and we may have a ceremony in April sometime to make it a little bit more official. But it's a lovely space. I don't mind driving there at all. It's very easy from Chelmsford. So that's going to be a place where people from New Hampshire, some are already coming down to that location, and people from the northern part of Massachusetts can join the company, have a great career, work on the most advanced technology in the world in a company that creates new solutions for difficult problems to support our national security. We work with all the services, all the agency numbers that you can think, letters you can think of in Washington, and it's a privilege to be able to support national security with the kind of technology that we have in the company.
I think that's wonderful news.
All that good stuff said, very interesting, Glenn, however, the audience.
John, the most important question of the day is, did Evelyn bring in a homemade baked goodie this morning?
Are they referring to me again?
Are you ready?
Skilled nursing facilities are only as good as the administrator running it at the time. Seems these days there's not a lot of longevity in the position. Also talk with some CNAs as they provide 99% of the care. The environment can change for better or worse pretty quickly. I would let people know that I do not hold a health proxy or POA. My sister does. And if I had, my mother probably would have been with us. But she wanted it different, and that's fine with me. Gives me an awful lot more freedom in my life than if I had my mother with me. But, pros and cons. And every one of the admissions directors that I have come in contact with in the Merrimack Valley have returned my phone calls. They're forthcoming with information, and they're very hospitable and easy to talk to. So, that being stated, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. And anybody else that has any comments with regard to that, please send them in.
I think that's great.
It's a learning curve for anybody that may be going into it. We did joke at dinner one night about the fact that maybe we ought to put a placeholder in some place for ourselves, because sometimes there's that, a 2-year waiting period. You never know. So
There's always a basement. I mean, the basement's got a lot of space in it, so there's...
Well, we're not going to.
Did any of you guys enjoy watching Mayor Wu testify yesterday?
I did watch it.
It's on YouTube. It's 6 hours long.
Yes, and I have to tell you, and I've said, I'm sorry, because I'm a broken record. You can watch a 2-minute clip on Fox, you can watch a 2-minute clip on MSNBC, and you're not going to get the story. If you want to know what happened and what was said, you have to make the investment of time and you have to go watch the actual event. Because the news media, whether it's on the left or the right, does not report it accurately. It's a slant and a bias, okay? So my whole thing now is I will not have a political discussion with anybody on any topic unless they tell me first that they have watched the whole thing, because if I won't waste my time.
So since you watched it, how did it go? How did it go?
I was not happy. First of all,
What's your takeaway? Unbiased takeaway.
unbiased is all four of the mayors that were, and it wasn't just Michelle Wu, there were 3 others, okay? They'd all been coached from a legal standpoint on what to say and what not to say. That's the first thing. So you weren't getting straightforward answers out of any of them.
They didn't give a yes or no.
Well, look, that's exactly right. So a very simple question, and I'll pick on Mayor Wu as an example. Mayor Wu, is Boston a sanctuary city? Well, that's either a yes or a no, okay? I mean, very simple. But they didn't answer it, okay? And they danced around it. And all that does is make the questioner more angry, okay, and more hostile. And that's what happened. And a lot of the questions, and I'm not protecting the mayors. I mean, I did not like their evasiveness at all, and I didn't like their political grandstanding, because that's what they did, all right?
So did the questionnaire. The people
But
asking
the questions, I equally fault, especially the Republicans, because they were grandstanding, and I would not have done it that way. And that's just me, okay? But I understand that this is on camera, and it's a political exercise for both sides, and that's how it came across.
Sam, I've been at this racket probably 20 years.
Yeah.
And the best thing I ever did was good old Marty Mann.
Oh, please.
Marty Mann would have him as, George Anthes would have him as a guest on his radio show. Once in a blue moon, George would let me sit with Marty. And Marty was a professional bull slinger.
Absolutely.
And so I would say, Marty, starting off with a yes or no, and then you can explain all you want what happened about this. And he wouldn't start off with yes or no. I says, Marty, your answer's done. And Anthes would go, John, you got to let him, no.
No.
He didn't start off yes or no. He's not going to give you a yes or no. So I withdraw my question. Stop answering it.
Well, that's true, but there's a way around that. Now, if I had...
How would you do it, Sam?
Well, here's how I would do it. If I were the questioner, and I would want a yes or a no answer to that basic question, are you a sanctuary city? What I would say to Mayor Wu, I'd say, now, Mayor Wu, I'm going to ask you a question, and this is a yes or a no answer, but after you answer the question, I will ask a follow-up question and allow you to expand. And I would say, is Boston a sanctuary city by your legal definition? And she would say, yes, it is. And I'd say, okay, Mayor Wu, that's fine. Now, please give us your definition of what a sanctuary city is and what it should be doing as a sanctuary city. I would allow her to make that. And if you do it that way, then you're not antagonistic, you're not hostile, and you're going to get some information. But as I said, the purpose of that whole thing was not to get information, it was not to understand, it was to politically filibuster both sides, okay? And nothing was learned. You came away from that whole session with your position hardened, whatever side you're on. Okay? So if you were on the sanctuary city side, your position was hardened and you came away totally convinced that the Trump administration is a bunch of buffoons and they're trying to and similarly on the other side. If you were on the other side, you came away much more hardened in your position that these mayors are just evil and they're operating against the interests. I mean, nothing was done except hardening of the respective positions. A waste of time.
I think
in
so.
my
I
opinion.
think the congressman, and I'm going to ask Evelyn to read this, I think the congressman should spend some time in a courtroom and see how the judge, when somebody's asked, a witness has asked a question, they damn well better answer it. Because the judge will say, hey, answer the question. And they need a judge there.
No.
Because there's no consequences for not answering the question.
Correct. But it's a political exercise. They weren't looking to do anything, to solve anything, or to get any information. It was a political exercise. It wasn't like a judicial committee exercise, which is totally different.
Bob, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
had to
Yeah.
say something
Yeah.
about the mayor. I didn't pay any attention when I heard over 600,000 of taxpayers' money
ridiculous.
was used to prep her for her answering. So I didn't even pay attention. What I wanted to ask Glenn before I have to leave her is, this is the way I look at things. I remember we all sat here waiting for the red wave, okay? And it never came. I was turned on by Trump when he said he's going to drain the swamp. And guess what? He's draining the swamp.
He's trying to.
now.
He's trying to.
Well, to me, the best meet, I watched him the other night for a couple of hours. It was unbelievable. That's how
It
I
was
felt
outstanding.
99 minutes to be exact.
The hate for Elon Musk is another thing, but I'd like to just hear what Glenn has to say about his speech.
Listen,
Wait a second. Before we get 3 texts here, I want Evelyn to blow through and then
Blow through the text.
we'll,
They better be good.
well, you can still think. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Mayor Wu gave the big middle finger to the citizens of Boston.
Both hands.
Yeah.
Mayor Wu is correct to get as much legal advice as possible. I'm not a fan of hers, but the people questioning her want her in prison. That's not true. She was fighting for her freedom. The mafia is
Yeah.
very powerful.
I think that's a little over the top.
It is definitely over the top, because they don't want her in prison.
No.
They want her to abide by what the federal law is. They are politicians and can't answer a question directly. It becomes a word salad. We already understand
Correct.
how that is.
Back over to you guys.
Even I can do that. So, Glenn, you were asked, Bob.
About the speech. Go ahead.
About the
What do you
speech.
felt this-
It was a fabulous speech. What made it so good, well, a couple things made it good. One was a huge, enormous mistake by the Democrats, bringing in paddles with signs on them. They look like insolent little children who have been put in a timeout, and they just have to sit there and listen to things that they don't want to hear, even though they're true. So it was just terrible, terrible optics, especially Al Green, who got up and started making noise and had to be extracted from the floor of the Congress.
But Speaker Johnson was ready for him. He was prepped.
Oh, yeah, he knew something was going to happen.
He knew that something like that
Something
was
was
going
gonna
to
happen.
happen. Yeah, he was prepped, and I think he handled it perfectly.
It was done according to the rule book.
Right,
So the
exactly.
speech as a whole was a speech that after just a little over a month, told the American people the story about what's going on and what they should expect next. And those people that wanted to, argue with what is Elon Musk doing, when the president read off all these absolutely ludicrous things that we're spending money on, people get it. They know that Musk is trying to stop that from happening. And one of the things that's very important to understand is when
Sorry, Glenn, this is more important.
Oh, here we go.
So, Evelyn, what do we got here today?
Strawberry coffee cake,
Ooh, sounds good.
Thank you. Please continue.
fresh strawberries.
Yes, they were alive at one time. And where was I?
You were talking about the Trump's laying out the vision for what's about to come, and the Democrats.
Yeah, the Democrat-
not accepting any of it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it was beautiful. I
Yeah,
thought.
with everything that happened, you had the Republicans that would cheer, you had them that would stand, and the Democrats did none of that. They just sat there. You were
Oh,
talking
yes.
about the insulin children aspect of
Yeah,
things.
so the thing they wanted to point out is, when he was reading all these ridiculous payments for, 50 million for sedentary migrants and.
Yeah, what does that mean, sedentary
Yeah, nobody,
migrants?
so how does that possibly happen? I got into a brief discussion with a very liberal friend of mine that said, well, Congress appropriated all this money, there's nothing he can do about it. Yeah, there is. He's got the responsibility to make sure that the money is spent well in the benefit of the United States.
The Congress appropriates an overall amount, but the Congress.
That's what I'm getting
the
at.
Congress does not vote to spend $50 million on sedentary migrants.
So you're making my
Okay,
case.
yes, I'm
The way
sorry.
the budget,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So the way the budgets are put together is the staffers for all the senators and congressmen, they write up the line items.
Correct.
That end up in the budget, and I guarantee you that the congressmen and senators don't see most of
They
these
don't
line
know.
items.
They have no idea.
They have no idea.
It would take them too much time to go through it.
Oh, yeah, they don't do it.
And it's yeah, exactly, Evelyn. It's unreasonable to expect your congressperson to know every.
I
blessed-
know this
you know,
because I've written the budget language that went into the budget
Yeah.
for certain programs that I was involved in for the staffers to put in the budget that was supported by our local Massachusetts senators, as Senator Kennedy in this particular case that I'm thinking of. But once that's in there, the most ridiculous stuff goes out for payments and nobody questions it. Because it's buried in this giant pile of money
Right.
that's going out the door that people don't even know where the money's going to. And so to expose that is very important. So the American people need to know that the staffers of their representatives and senators are putting in some ridiculous stuff. For example, the thing that really irks me, Stacey Abrams lost the governor's race in Georgia. And she has a 501c3 organization that last year got $100. And the Biden administration threw $2 billion into Stacey Abrams' 501c3.
What is her 5013C? What's the
Don't
purpose of-
know. They're
Okay.
still trying to find out where the $2 billion went.
All right.
But
Well, that's not
Stacey
good.
Abrams and all her friends got a big chunk of that money.
I would think so.
Because they're running their 501c3, and this goes on and on and on. So to think that you can't take hundreds of billions of dollars out of the budget by just looking at it is silly. You can. And so people that argue that, well, look at what Elon Musk is doing, he's doing America a giant favor. And the speech also pointed out some of the silliness that goes on when you don't have modern computer facilities. The Social Security's got these millions of people who are, beyond a reasonable living age, and whether they're collecting Social Security money or not, I don't know. But the fact that they're on the Social Security list for viable Social Security numbers is crazy.
And the point there is, and again, the criticism of this, and you're right, is, well, they say that these people are all getting checks, and the answer is, well, they haven't.
they haven't said that
they
that I
haven't-
know of.
But that's the implication, and the other side is saying, well, that's what you're saying. And the fact is, you're right, they don't really know. But just the fact that the records are inaccurate to that degree suggests to me that a lot of other things are
They're
probably inaccurate. So that's really the
Yeah,
point.
they're using punch cards in some government operations.
yeah.
They're using floppy disks that I haven't used for maybe 10 years.
When I worked for Wang Labs many years ago, about half of my job was focused on a division of our company. It was called Wang Labs Federal Systems Division. And our division sold technology to the federal government. Now, this is years ago, but I can tell you, and I doubt if anything's changed, it's probably gotten a lot worse. Back then, the federal government was so out of date with respect to keeping up with technology. Their systems were way past their useful life and so forth. And this was back then, and we were trying to sell them and upgrade their equipment. But they had life cycles of 10 and 12 years on their computer systems, which everybody knows is ridiculous.
The other thing that's causing that problem is they don't have the money to update the technology. They will.
Correct.
In the
Oh, yes, we have the money, it's in your pockets. We're gonna
Right.
go,
Well, no, the money
Everyone's
is
favorite part
going
of
to
the show.
Stacey Abrams' 5013C, right?
everyone's favorite part of the show, the announcement. I'm
Yeah.
gonna shut your mics off. They can only hear me now.
what happened last week at the Golden Gloves?
Tell us what happened.
You don't know what happened last week at the Golden Gloves?
Oh, Glenn, I love that.
So,
I love that.
My
Glenn,
grandson-
I've already said what happened.
Go.
You don't know? No, I'm
Well, I
stupid.
need to have
I'm
to have-
sorry, I'm stupid. Please tell me.
so my granddaughter and her younger brother were in the ring to pick the 50-50 drawing.
Fantastic.
It was great. It was great.
Thought you were
So
gonna
my
say they
son
were
has
in the
my
ring
son
to
has
battle it
tickets
out.
to the Golden Gloves. Every year he's got all the Golden Gloves. So,
Season tickets.
pardon?
I think everyone said he got season
Matthew
tickets.
has season tickets.
Season tickets,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
going
But
to-
hey,
I'm
tonight
going
is the
tonight.
last night, and you want to have a good time, head down there, plenty of room. You park at the old Hilton
7:30.
garage, park in that garage, walk across the bridge to the magnificent auditorium. You're going to have a great time. It starts at, stores open at 6, first bout 7:30, so hope you can make it down there. Also, if you can't make it down there, Gary Frascarelli and company, Gary Francis and company, is putting on the radio tonight, and this event, tonight's Golden Gloves, the last one's going to be broadcast on WCAP 980 AM on your dial. Listen for the live stream on your mobile app. If
Oh, there you
go
go.
to WCAP, no, 980WCAP.com. And broadcasting will begin at 7 until the last bout. Your announcers will be Kiki Rudy, Marty Laurie, and Johnny Dakota. That's tonight at 7 o'clock. Moving right along, coming up on March 15th at 9 a.m., that's a Saturday. State Representative Rodney Elliott, he was here yesterday, and the Bridge Club the Greater Lowell present St. Patrick's Day breakfast honoring Tom Shanahan, the guy who owns the Owl Diner, nice guy. The Heavey Quinn Irish dancers, and they're going to have comedian Dave Russo. Ned Tommy bought a table. I'm sitting with Ned. Tickets, I got to shrink this up a little bit. Tickets are $50 a piece, and they still got room, according to Rodney yesterday, but naturally things are going. It's a delicious time, a lot of laughs. It's like a high school reunion. You see every Tom, Dick, and Mary you went to high school with, and they have a QR code down the corner here. Take your smartphone out, put it in camera mode. That'll bring you to a web page that you can buy tickets. City of Lowell, they sent out a census thing. Did they send a census thing in Chelmsford?
Yes.
Well, the town needs you to send that back in because it means they get more money from the government somehow. I don't know what it is, but here's a plea from the City of Lowell. So please send your census card back in.
If you don't do it, they'll put you on an active status on the voter rolls too, so.
Yeah, but if you whip out your driver's license, you can still vote. Tony Archinsky. Tony Archinsky's having just a delightful drink and
It's
campaign
colorful.
fundraiser for, let me slide this down so you can see the whole thing. Campaign fundraiser for Tony Fedrakit Archinsky, selectman. It's Sunday, March 16th,
See you later, Bob.
noon to 3 p.m. at the Primo Pizza Restaurant, 149 Parker Avenue. Donations can be accepted. Moving right along, on St. Patrick's Day, at the Tingsboro Sportsman's Club, 90 Westford Road in Tingsboro. They're going to have a shamrock dinner. This is a bargain and a half. 4 to 8 p.m. All tickets sold at the door. $12 for I'm sure it's corned beef and cabbage. Vets and kids only $6. So hope to see you there, and thank you, Linda Baum, for sending this in to us.
It's a good deal.
Job fair is coming to, bye, Bobby, thank you. Job fair is coming to the Middlesex Community College building in downtown Lowell. That's the skyscraper that's a little bit over on the East Merrimack Street side. But it's March 25th and 26th. 60 companies are going to be there. So if you want a new job or you got a kiddo in the family that's looking to find out different alternatives, there's going to be 60 people there. 60 different companies. A good opportunity for your kiddo to explore what kind of occupation they want to get themselves into. And as you can see in the bottom here, they're going to have science and technology, manufacturing, law enforcement, all kinds of good companies are going to be there. Good opportunity for any kiddo looking to find a future. Eric Gitchie is having a party. I don't have a copy of his ticket yet. I got to get a hold of him, ask him to send me a picture of his ticket. But he's having a party, re-election party, Thursday, March 27th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Mount Pleasant Country Club. Be there or be square. Donations start at $25 and go up. Health fair in Tewksbury. If you're 60 years or older, you're not feeling tip-top, consider going out to the Tewksbury Senior Center, April 9th. You don't have to live in Tewksbury. Any senior center nationwide, you can go in there. You have a right to go in there if you're 60 years or older. So just know that. So if you're out in Cincinnati or you're down in Fort Lauderdale, you can walk into the senior center. You don't have to live in the town. So if you're not feeling tip-top or you want to get checked out by a health professional, be in touch with this gal. Her name is Susan Timmons. That's her phone number, and she can tell you more what's going to be happening on April 9th. Danielle McFadden, she's running for school committee, and she's having a party Thursday, April 3rd, 5 to 8 p.m. at Mount Pleasant Golf Club, 141 Staples Street. That's up in the Highlands. Danielle McFadden's fundraiser. And that's the last one, Ev. Back to you.
Well, welcome back after, 8 minutes?
Bob has left us.
Yes, Bob left. He has
8 minutes.
another
You can read them if you want.
commitment.
You think you go faster?
I'm fine. I don't want to read announcements. Thank you. So we were talking about the president's speech. Prior to his speech, and we'll only take hopefully only 5 minutes on this, and then we'll go into some other details. He had a meeting with the president of Ukraine. I watched that,
On Friday.
and
That's another one where you've got to watch the whole thing. You
Right.
can't
And
just
it's like
watch.
40 minutes long, right?
Almost 50, 49 and a fraction.
Right.
But
But-
you can't just watch the 3-minute news clip
I didn't
because
watch
you're
the 3-minute
because
news
you're
clip.
going to. But that's what most people did, and then they
But the other
spout
thing
off.
is,
You know.
I was driving, so I listened to it. I do not like confrontation like that. It was very disturbing to me as to how it occurred.
Yeah, it was bad.
And I know Glenn has his opinion. So what I did was, as a result of that, I wanted to know, did he come in there cold? Did he have discussions prior to? Where is this going? And so I did a little bit more research, and I think this was the third time they had the discussion.
Correct.
And the only reason there was a press conference was because the president of the United States thought that this was the announcement time.
It's a
for him
done
to sign.
deal. He's going to come in, sign the paper.
Yeah,
We're
and
going
then
to sit
we're
down and have
Very
lunch,
simple.
and we're going to go home.
Shake hands.
Right.
And we're going to go home. And so
Right.
everybody's saying how Trump blindsided him,
No.
except that it wasn't. It was Zelensky that did.
Well, can I interrupt you for 1 minute? You're right, but they've pulled back on that narrative now. You're
Oh,
not-
of course.
Yeah, you're not hearing
all
that.
different now.
You're not hearing that so much because after
It's
2
all
or 3
different now.
days, more information came out, and the people who overreacted because they saw a 2-minute news clip have now, a lot of them, I mean, they're not going to come back and say we were wrong, but they've stopped talking about it, which tells you they know that they're not right. Am I wrong?
Well, no, if you saw
Right.
the whole thing, which I've several times, it's really tired now.
Sam, I got a couple of these. Can you read these?
At least Mr. Musk wore a suit and tie at Trump's speech. Yes, he did. He was dressed up. The only thing missing from the Democrats was a playpen and a bouncy house. They acted like they were in a permanent timeout. I think
Exactly
I
right.
think that's accurate. Yes,
Thank you.
spoiled brats.
But the other part that I wanted to know was, other presidents had contact with Ukraine. Did they have issues?
Of course. Biden had
did-
issues.
But I mean, I asked myself these questions, and I
Yeah.
wanted to have it, and then you find out that President Biden had yelling sessions with him on the telephone.
At least one.
And so this, to me, was a transparent way to show the American people, it was not intended to do this, but to show the American people exactly what they're up
Well-
against with regard to having a foreign dignitary that doesn't agree with where they really want to go,
Well, I
because he
think-
wants
yeah,
more.
And that's correct. And at the end of the session, and again, you got to watch the whole thing, because the first 40 minutes was fine.
It's fine.
Okay?
Sound like a regular meeting.
And what provoked it was a question from the media. Okay, that provoked Zelensky. Now, I think it is true, again, if you sort through all the stuff and you listen to what Rubio and Bessent said and so forth, what led up to this whole deal, I don't think Zelensky intended to sign the agreement when he came, and I think that was part of the problem. But what happened was the reporter, I think, was provoking, okay, which is what they do. Zelensky, I think, took some offense. Now, the other thing that nobody talks about is the language barrier. Now, President Zelensky, if people remember, 3 years ago, he could barely speak a word of English. And in that amount of time, he's actually become reasonably proficient. I give him a lot of credit. That's not an easy thing to do. All right, so his English is much, much better than it was 3 years ago. However, it's a second language. He does have trouble at times. And I think some of the problem was related to the fact that he was not speaking in his primary language,
You
okay?
could tell that, though, Sam, when
Yes.
with some of the responses.
Correct. And for example, Trump talked about, you don't have all the cards.
Right, and you
Zelensky
knew
says,
right away.
well, I'm not playing cards.
Right, you knew
And
right away, and Trump should have picked up on the fact that there was an issue, but he
You
didn't.
you cannot speak, and most people who don't speak a second language don't know this, and why would they, okay?
They
But if-
process in their birth language.
If you speak, like I do, I speak a second language, so I understand this. When you're talking to foreigners whose first language is not English, you cannot use idiomatic speech. You have to be very precise, and you can't say, well, you don't have the cards.
Reading the
I-
text.
What does that mean?
I have
The
trouble with
important-
idiomatic speech
Right.
with the
So,
English.
Let Evelyn read the text.
Go
The
ahead.
important thing about the meeting with President Zelensky, and we need to respell, is he left without a check in hand.
True.
Or an agreement.
But in any case, it was an unfortunate thing.
So Zelensky misread the situation.
Yes, he did.
Tremendously, because he believed that if he played it up to the American people,
Right.
the president wouldn't have any option but to do what he wanted.
And thank you for saying that. Let me finish my thought, and then I'll shut up. And if you watch the whole thing, it was triggered, all right, and then they had the exchange. The vice president tried to shut it down because he realized, and he said, you came in here and now you want to litigate this in front of the camera
Big
and
mistake.
the press. And so Vance was correct. He tried to shut it down. He wanted to stop it and then take it offline. But Trump, no, he wasn't having any of that. No, he said, you know what? I'm going to keep this going because I want the American people to see
Right.
this, all right? So there was a little bit of a disagreement between Vance and Trump. Doesn't matter because Trump is the president, right?
Right.
But that was the dynamic. And I think Glenn is-
Biden was very soft with regard
Yes.
to Ukraine. He basically said, speaking on behalf, quote, of
Right.
the American people, we're with you for as long as it takes. That's an infinite war.
Right.
Screw the infinite war approach to this, because that's completely wrong, and we know that.
Well, because they can't win, Glenn.
No, that's right.
They can't. The
No matter what
Ukrainians
anybody says,
can't
well, the
win.
United States can do this, the United States can do that,
they
we'll
can't
push them
win.
out of Ukraine. No, that's not going to happen. Because in order for the United States to apply that much force on the front lines against the Russian army that's dug in, it's going to be incredibly bad. And the Russians have tactical nuclear weapons, ready to use. They put them on the table. They're ready to use, so all you need is for the Russians to feel like they're getting blown out of Ukraine and blow up a couple of Ukraine cities with tactical nuclear weapons. And what do you got now? You got World War III. Trump knows that. He knows that Ukraine has suffered some damage. They're going to have to compromise with respect to land mass. What happened when Russia took Crimea and Biden and
Nothing.
Obama were in office? Nothing. Now Russia's got submarine bases in Crimea, and there's nobody that's going to get Russia out of Crimea because they'll fight for it, and they have the ability to do it.
Everyone want to read these two, please?
He at least knows how to ask for dollars. With all the money we have given Zelensky, he can afford to learn English.
I think he's
doing very well.
Yeah, he is doing
He's
well.
done very well. His English is
Now, he
again
did have,
pretty good.
He did have
Yeah.
an interview with Brett Beer later, and his interpreter was there. And you did notice that when he was confused to the question,
exactly.
he went to the interpreter,
Yes.
and the interpreter then said something, and then he answered the question as if he had actually heard it originally in the.
One of the words Brett Baer asked him was, "Do you regret what happened in the Oval Office?" And he didn't understand exactly the meaning of the word regret, which we all understand, but he wasn't sure what that meant, so he had to go to his interpreter. And he basically said it was not a good meeting for either side. But Zelensky came in thinking he had more leverage than he had. It's all about leverage. You want to talk about politics and international politics and business politics, it's all about leverage. You're talking to a New York real estate developer. If anybody knows about leverage,
Wrong person.
it's somebody that has to deal with the unions in New York for decades.
Yeah,
so
wrong
he
person.
He gets it.
So
you know?
somebody had asked me whether or not, did he meet with the Democrats? Well, there was an article that was on Google that said he met with a bipartisanship. However, if on the side he met with Democrats because he has been used by them, and they basically said, gave him advice, which was to make Trump look bad, and Zelensky thought that he had.
I don't buy that.
I'm looking at
Yeah,
it
I don't
in
buy
a
that.
lot of ways. In that,
Yeah.
you could just have a narcissistic, arrogant individual sitting there, or there's a variety of things. Now, when he said that they've been alone, he has been talking about that they're fighting. They don't have American troops. They don't have European troops. They have Ukrainian troops.
That's what he meant.
That's what he meant.
That's what he meant. But Trump,
that's not the way Trump took it.
didn't take it that way.
Right,
So,
and neither did Vance take it that way.
So they were kind of, again, second language, they were kind of talking past each other. And when passions are elevated, you tend not to listen as well
Right.
as you otherwise would.
But these are
Trump
things-
correctly
Yeah.
corrected him by saying, we've been giving you hundreds of billions of dollars of military equipment, something that we need to point out.
Yeah, right.
I blame a lot of this problem on the Biden administration.
Yes, and
Because-
Obama.
Yeah, Obama's behind the scenes, but the Biden administration screwed up big time because I understand military strategy, military weaponry very, very well. Biden could have provided Ukraine with the right equipment sooner that would have made a difference with the Russian incursion, but they didn't. The only reason they stopped the people coming into Kiev in the beginning is because Trump gave them Javelin missiles, which are pretty good. You can take out tank formations and everything with Javelin missiles all day long. And what Biden had to do is he had to rush more and more Javelin missiles in because he saw that they were helping to stop at least the attack on Kiev. But when Biden was president, they needed tanks. He didn't send them in time. He waited and waited. They had MiGs that were available to be sent in from Poland to be replaced by F-16s that we would give to Poland, and Biden stopped that, so they didn't get the jets that they needed.
So-
they needed long-range artillery. They didn't get the long-range artillery that they needed, so Russia had plenty of opportunity to take land because Biden was giving them the wrong equipment at a slower rate that allowed the Russians to make progress.
So-
Evelyn, you want to read these two?
Would you trust Putin with your money, or would you trust Zelensky with your money? I
Neither.
wouldn't trust neither of them with
Neither
your
one.
money.
Neither
That is
one.
a silly question. Oh, come
War
on.
is big business. There's a lot of dough to be made off bombs and missiles. Degrading war stocks are not good for business. There's a lot going on.
There
with
is some
regard
truth to that, yes.
To a discussion in those areas which we can
Well-
take in a different way. But as far
So-
as
Let me-
what's
let me-
going on currently,
So here's the important part. Where
ahead.
are we now?
yes.
And Zelensky had a hard lesson. He went back to visit the Prime Minister of England. He visited some other dignitaries. And I guarantee what they told him was, hey, you screwed up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got
Big time.
President Trump mad when you didn't need to. You said things you never should have said. You should appreciate the American help. Now sign the mineral deal, damn it, you know, and get on with the process of getting a ceasefire and getting to the table.
I agree with you, and let me extend that thought a bit, because, just for the benefit of the viewers, and look, please, I am no expert in anything, so just take what I say,
Oh, I
because
wouldn't say
but I
that.
do have some experience in dealing with foreigners, because for almost 30 years, that was a focus of my professional life, was dealing with international situations and people. And what Glenn said, I believe, is absolutely true. And what happens, and you can't be misled by the public statements, what the European leaders say in public is not what they say in private. Trust me, okay? So while you get a public statement.
Universal truth.
Yeah, while you get a public statement from Macron and the British government and others saying, Vlad, you're my guy, we're behind you 100%.
We support you.
When the cameras are off, it's, what the hell is the matter with you? You know, it's like Glenn just said.
It's-
That's the
yeah.
conversation, and that's what happens. So, and it's even true, bring it home a little bit, you know, the spats now that we're having between Canada and the U.S. You get Trudeau, and he gets up on the camera, and he pounds the table, and we're not going to take this.
We're
and
going to
not
shut
gonna-"
off electricity to the
Well, I
United
heard-
States.
That is
Monday
not,
morning, I listened to,
that is not the conversation that the Prime Minister is having with Donald Trump over the telephone. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
listen to the
Okay?
BBC on Monday morning,
Yeah.
and American news says, all of Europe is behind Ukraine.
But they aren't.
And the BBC says, Spain, Poland, and Germany are not going to participate. Those are pretty big entities in Europe.
Yeah, but they may change
How did they
their
get
mind.
confused like that? I mean, you know, what's the real story?
Again, public speech versus what they actually say in private. And this is nothing new, folks. This has been going on forever, okay? So what you hear on the news, again, I'm a broken record, I'm going to say this till I die, take it with a grain of salt. You've got to do more research to find out what actually is happening.
Right, and that's where I
Right.
was with regard to that, but now
Yeah.
that leads into the president's speech that we can talk about for, 15 minutes if you want to. And that's where he did say that he did get a letter from President Zelensky, and he has agreed to sign it. We'll see if that really occurs.
hope that's true.
We're waiting. And, and all of his intention, and then Trump had demanded an apology. And one of the things with regard to that, from my understanding, is that in the letter, there was something of an apology.
You're right, it was soft, but it was definitely in the right
I think that's about probably the best you're going to get.
That's right.
Until the two of them get together by themselves, the conversation is going to be different.
They need to hug it out.
Evelyn, you want to do this?
Some of the weapons we gave Ukraine are ending up in other parts of the world. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt governments in the world.
There is some truth to that.
I don't have evidence of that, but if that
Oh,
person.
yeah, they are. Oh, yes, they are.
Well, they may be selling stuff for more money.
Well, the thing I get most fascinated with is the Bradley, which is a little baby tank, with America's getting rid of them all, is defeating Russians' brand-new tanks in the open battlefield.
Well, because they have precision-guided weaponry on board. You know,
But the best tank that Russia has to offer, the Bradley, something we're going to get rid of.
yeah,
is defeat them.
we're not actually getting rid of them that quickly. We're going to replace them with a new
Are we
version.
we're making new ones?
There's a new version coming out. Not
But we're not making
Bradleys.
the Bradleys-
We're upgrading. We're upgrading Bradleys, so we're keeping the platforms and making them a little bit more
But
effective.
we're keeping the tank body?
Yeah.
Because I saw them on a freight train heading out to California for target practice. As
Well, yeah,
targets.
some of them will. They wear out like anything else does. You know, your Tesla could be
Now,
target practice in a few
Are
years.
you telling me we're not going to electric tanks?
Electric tanks. The Biden
mean, what's going on
administration
here?
was so screwed up. Well, they were thinking about it.
no.
Going to electric tanks, you know.
Uh-oh, that's
But they
not good.
also had to tow behind the tank a generator to recharge it. So that, I mean, come on. Some of the stupid stuff that was done over the past 4 years is just beyond belief. Oh, the other thing that Trump said in his speech, a lot of people might have missed it, but this is very important. He's putting an office in the White House for shipbuilding.
Yes.
And
That was interesting.
For our ability to build a single ship is superseded by China's ability to build between 5 to 10 ships in the same time.
Not good.
Now, in spite of the fact we have advanced weaponry, and we do, yeah, we have problems in our government.
Yes.
Our government is pretty corrupt.
It certainly is.
In spite of the fact that we have advanced weaponry, if the other guys have much, much larger numbers, that's a problem. Because even with conventional weaponry, if your numbers are 5 to 10 times greater, that's a problem. The F-22 is a stealth aircraft that can take out anything that the Chinese fly, but if they've got a lot of aircraft, the F-22 could run out of gas, could be run out of missiles. A lot of things can happen. You could be overwhelmed by numbers. And if anybody knows what overwhelmed by numbers means, it's the Chinese.
Talk to Doug MacArthur.
Oh, yeah.
He'll tell you all about being overwhelmed by Chinese numbers.
Yeah, that's right.
So-
You look at Korea.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not complicated. So we need shipbuilding expertise in this country, which we had at one time in Quincy, Mass, no doubt.
Yes, we did.
And that needs to change, and every other administration has just let it decay and go to other countries, just like we can't launch any spacecraft anymore because, Obama shut down NASA's space program. Space shuttle was shut down, there was nothing, well, we'll wait till some private entrepreneur figures out how to do it, which Elon Musk did. And everybody's saying, well, Elon Musk
No.
isn't that smart. He didn't create those rockets. Yes, he is, because he put together the team and the means
Right.
and the accountability to create technology like that, plus the
It's
plan to shoot them and let them
It's a s-
fail and figure out what broke.
It's a smart person who knows what he doesn't know, okay? So Musk's obviously is a smart guy, but his strength is like what you just said. It's making sure
He's
you've
the
got
team.
the right resources to build the right team that is full of content experts so that they can do whatever they're supposed to do.
SpaceX launches 80% of
Yeah.
everything that we put in space. They had, 400 launches last year, but, you haven't heard about them because they don't talk about them.
No.
It's the big ones that make the news, like catching the booster. So Musk figured out, if we can reuse the expensive parts like the booster, then the prices go down and we can put more satellites in space. Duh. And he put 36 engines in it or something like that, because if 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 engines fail, it still works fine. So it's the entire thought process about how do we save money to make launching into space more economical. That's what Elon Musk forced to happen, not NASA. And now we got to go rescue the Boeing astronauts that have been up there. They're going up for a 2-week tour. It sounds like Gilligan's Island, doesn't it?
That's bad. Let me ask you, getting back to the speech, now, what the opposition, they've kind of given up on a lot of this stuff because, again, as the news cycle progresses and more information comes out, which I find in this particular administration, it's more timely. And I think the reason, and I know Trump was criticized for the quality of the cabinet he's put together, but I think most of them are pretty talented people.
They are.
But what certainly is true, they're all on the same page, and you're not seeing the political and turf infighting among cabinet members that you've seen in prior administrations. So as a result of that, when information comes out, or misinformation or lack of information comes out, well, Zelensky shows up and the president blows it up and he's an idiot and blah, 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 almost immediately you get Marco Rubio, you get Waltz, and you get Gabbard, who's the
Tulsi Gabbard.
yeah.
Yeah, you get Bessent's
and
involved,
Bessent, and you get all of them that have participated, and within 2 or 3 days, they all come out and they say, well, wait a minute, you don't have the whole story, and they all give you the story, and it's consistent, okay? And then people say, well, wait a minute, we didn't know that. Well, maybe before you open your mouth and you give your opinion, you should wait a day or two and get the whole picture before you do that. So that is markedly different. So I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I'm going to ask you about tariffs. okay? And this is something that I actually know something about because, again, I spent 30 years in international finance and so forth. So I understand how tariffs work and so forth. So the criticism is that we put tariffs on imports coming into the United States, and all that's going to do is raise the price of the product because it is the importer that actually does pay the tax. Because a tariff is a tax. It's what they call an ad valorem tax. Whatever the value of the merchandise is as sold coming into the United States, there's a percentage tax that's put on that. That's the tariff. And the importer, not the exporter from the foreign country, the importer pays the tariff. But that's not really the whole story, so I want to ask your opinion on the tariff situation.
Well, the tariffs are additional cost, and the exporter does pay, because if the price of the product gets high enough, they don't sell the product anymore.
Okay,
So-
that's my point. But technically speaking, as a transactional value, the importer does pay the tax.
That's correct,
to the
but
government. But
sometimes
go
the
ahead,
price
go
of the
ahead.
product doesn't get raised because the exporter knows that you won't be able to sell the product.
Correct.
So somebody's going to eat that differential, and it's going to be back at the exporter's end. They drop the price of that
Yeah.
product, because when we add the tariff, we can't have the price to the customer going up
That's
too
right.
high.
So what Glenn is.
So it's leverage again.
So what Glenn is saying is that when you impose the tariff, even though the U.S. importer pays for it, that total extra cost may not filter onto the consumer.
Everybody's just saying, the price is going to
Yeah.
go up, but that's not what happens.
Well, in some cases it does. It all
It will a
It
little
all
bit in
it all
places.
depends on how competitive that market is.
Right.
So if we're talking about merchandise that is sourced from multiple locations, and it's a competitive market, what Glenn said is what will happen. The
So
cost
it's-
will go back on the manufacturer.
Right.
If it's a sole source product, then you're screwed. You are going to pay the extra cost.
That's right, but
All right.
we're running short of time here.
Right.
The important thing to remember about tariffs is its leverage. So a lot of the stuff that we
Right.
ship overseas gets highly tariffed, and so we can't sell that much to certain countries like
200%
England.
in some
Yeah.
cases.
Harley Davidson's going to India, 100% tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so President Trump, and I think correctly so, said, well, if you're going to tariff us 100%, we're going to tariff your goods 100% now. So you should rethink about opening up your markets to the American manufacturers and lower your tariffs, or we're going to close our markets to you by raising the tariffs the same as you're raising on us.
And the other point
yeah.
to be made too is what Trump is trying to do is to get the manufacturers to come back into
That
this
is
country.
correct. That is correct.
And as they're doing that.
Correct.
And so you
Great
do have
idea.
a lot of news announcements
Correct.
with him as to the partnerships, or that you have these billions of dollars, which are now adding up to trillions, of manufacturers coming back into this country. I thought it was a very smart move for the semiconductor company that is
TSMC,
housed in
Taiwan.
Taiwan to come here, because if China ends up taking over Taiwan, they have a place here that's going to keep the market
And
going,
again-
and they can expand from here. So there's a lot of places they want the automobile industries to come back into this country. And the more that they are here, obviously if they're here and they
Everybody
sell to
benefits.
us,
Everybody
there are no
benefits.
tariffs.
American
Right.
jobs.
And
Everybody
they wanted
benefits.
to have a reciprocal relationship in terms of the automobile industry with Europe, because Europe isn't selling American cars, but we're importing European cars, the Germans and so forth, which many people are aware
And
of.
few people explain the real problem here. When you buy a BMW, that $80,000 is never coming back to America. And that's what's not explained to the American public. Oh, they're buying our cars, we're not buying. The issue is, it should be a balance and exchange of money. And we're spending billions, and we're getting back millions. Now, if you have
That's
$1 billion
correct.
Exactly
That
right.
and you
that
only
is
get $1
correct.
million back,
Yep.
you're going
That's
to go
right.
broke pretty soon.
The problem.
Let me
Yeah, go
let me make another quick point.
Go ahead.
65 texts. So, great show today. want to enjoy a warm-up.
Oh, yeah.
Cake looked delicious. It was, too.
I'm going to have some.
It's a wise person who rules the stairs.
Stars.
Stars, okay. It's a fool who rules by them. Cosmic muffin, okay.
So one of the things I want to make a quick point on in the closing
almost done.
seconds
I'm
is.
almost done.
Oh, you got more?
Yeah. Well, you guys were babbling, I couldn't put them up, so I broke in here. NAFTA is the large sucking sound American jobs leaving 33 years ago? Was Ross Perot right or wrong?
He was right.
He was right.
And we don't
Tomorrow
have.
City Life,
yeah.
Cliff's going to be the host, Eileen Del Rossi is expected, and school committee men from the
We have 3
regional.
minutes.
So my quick point
No,
was.
Wrap it up.
That people don't realize, because nobody ever talks about it, why was unemployment so low during the Biden administration? So if you go back and look at why unemployment was so low, he was hiring hundreds of thousands of people into government jobs.
87,000 IRS people.
Yeah, it was just insane. So, if he wasn't hiring everybody and giving them, these government jobs that you don't even have to go to work for, the unemployment rates would have been much higher, which would have been bad for him politically, in the midterms and everything else. But they're hiring like it was going out of style. They were hiring more than the private industry in some years to government jobs. And so now that we want to thin down government, where a lot of these jobs came from Biden's outrageous overhiring during his administration.
And even before that, they were still overstaffed in many
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
places.
true.
Right. So,
So we'll see what the results will be, as they go through and they begin to reduce that. And they can move some of those employees around, because they said that if the IRS agents are carrying guns, they can join ICE. The question is, well, how trained are they in order to be able to do that? So we're trying to,
Should we ask George Costanza his opinion? He was in the import.
Good
export
idea.
business.
yep.
yeah, they would have, somebody that actually does it would have a better insight into it, but the general,
I did it for 30 years.
the general approach is if we're doing enough research or we have enough
Jerry
experience
Seinfeld would
ourselves,
have
we
an
know.
opinion.
And that, so thank you. Before we run out of time, I'm going to say thank you for coming in this morning and for my
always fun.
co-host to come in
I want to
extra
try
special
that
early.
strawberry stuff. That sounds good.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff that's out there. And next week, we have Amanda Lucia. I don't
Ooh.
remember her married name.
I don't either.
And so she's coming in, she'll talk about Camp Paul, the Business Association, and some of her adventures, and maybe we'll get her to give us a little insight into being the new parent.
Is
since-
she the chair now of CBA, or is she still?
I don't think so. I think Kirk still is.
Kirk is still in charge.
Is the
of it.
deadline come and go for running for office in Chelmsford?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
When's your election?
April 1st, Tuesday.
Okay. Wow.
April 1st.
I know.
So-
I know. We remember on April 1st.
So
Long
just
time ago.
for the viewing audience, Zelensky is ZELE
Never mind.
And-
SKYY.
It's Zelensky, two E's.
ZELEN
Right.
Enjoy the-
SKYY.
Enjoy the warm weather, because I'm certainly sure it will change. We're in
Double
New
Y
England.
at the end.
Everybody stay safe and have a
it's
great
Ukrainian.
day.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
The language is actually close to Russian.
I don't
Put the
speak
music
Russian.
up. Your mic's at